chapter 30, Pacific Century. We'll start off with India. Great Britain gave India its independence in 1947, but there was one problem. The British asked the people of India, asked Gandhi, what will you do about the places in your country that has a Muslim majority? Gandhi never gave them a good answer, so when the British arrived, they had two pieces of paper. The one piece of paper they gave to Gandhi, the other piece they gave to a Pakistan man, said, you Pakistanis go form your country, and you people of India form yours. And all this upset the people of India terribly. Pakistan went on to form their own country, but the people of India would not accept it, so they got together their army, and against Gandhi's wishes, they engaged in a huge tank fight, the largest tank fight in the history of the world. The result of the fight was inconclusive. Pakistan remained an independent country and has remained so to this day. The two sides are constantly threatening war with each other. India has faced the threat of war with Pakistan, and Pakistanis have been accused of engaging in terrorism against the Indian people, and this goes on. In the meantime, both sides have developed the atomic bomb, and both sides are we're trying to be friends with both sides. Both sides are trying to be friendly with the United States. Now, having said that, I'll say this. When we finally supposedly found Osama bin Laden, he was not located in Afghanistan, but located in Pakistan, very close to what amounts to Pakistan's West Point. In other words, they had the chief military training academy, like we have our West Point in West Point, New York. Well, they had the chief military training academy in sight of the building where Osama bin Laden was living. And we knew enough about the building to reconstruct it and train some of our best soldiers to go in. And on a certain night, they went in, found a man, shot him dead, and buried him in the sea. Now, I'm saying all this tongue-in-cheek because I had a discussion about it yesterday, and one of you brought up the issue, is he really dead? I'll leave that unless someone of you want to discuss it. But anyway, by the time we learned he was dead, he was already buried and nobody saw him. Supposedly, our satellites could see the man every time he would come outside his house, step on his back porch. And again, if you know anything about satellite photography, and I've seen pictures of my own house taken with satellite, and maybe some of you have seen pictures of yours, but that shows a lot of detail, and you can actually see it, not an individual well enough to recognize them, but you can see people on bicycles or individual cars from satellite photographs. And I've seen it in my house and my neighborhood from the satellite. Amazingly, what looks different is, look in my neighborhood, I don't notice that so many trees, but then look at the satellite, there's trees all in my house, it's like a clearing, surrounded by trees all over the place. So any of you seen your own house or apartment from, you can, that's available. And supposedly we knew where Saddam Hussein, where Osama bin Laden was for a good many years before we finally moved in. Anyway, the people of India and Pakistan hate each other. Now, Gandhi was the leader of India at first. Gandhi was assassinated and Nehru took over. Unlike Gandhi, Gandhi wanted to return the people of India to their old habits and old ways. Nehru said, no, we've got to become like the Westerners. We've got to give our people automobiles. We've got to adopt Western ways, Western style clothing and Western style dress. And we've got to reform some of our habits and make us a little bit repugnant to the Westerners. We can't allow our women to throw themselves in the fire when her husband dies anymore. We can't allow child marriages anymore. You know, we've got to change a few things. And oh yeah, that's for the lost caste, the outcast. We've got to incorporate them into society. Now, these kind of changes actually take 100 years to train in our own country. We made a law, the 15th Amendment, the Constitution, was passed in 1868 and gave black people the right to vote. How come they were not voting in 1964, 96 years later? All kinds of laws. So if you talk to a man from India today and a woman from India, and they'll say, oh, we can now marry outside of our caste. Now, that has been done away with. We used to, we now can. On paper, he's telling the truth. But in actuality, a lot of people in India feel very uncomfortable or just simply don't marry outside their caste. Now, there was a case of a father who killed his daughter for dating a man outside of their caste. This crime occurred in the United States. The case went to the judge, and the man said, I thought we had religious freedom here. The judge said, yeah, but your daughter had the freedom to join any religious group she wanted to, and the freedom to date any man she wanted to here. What you did is a crime, and the judge sentenced the man to I don't know how long in prison. Again, this occurred here in the United States. A lot of people in India still are living the old ways and do not want to change the new. But they'll tell you, oh yes, we have changed, we're no longer doing it. And on paper, officially, they are trying to get the lost caste back in. But anyone who's not a member of the lost caste will probably not dare marry someone who is in the lost caste. Again, the old ways die hard. It took 100 years for us from the time that we gave blacks the right to vote to the time they actually were voting. And it probably would take about 100 years for the people of India to make the changes that they say that's underway now. One problem with India, they had a big population explosion, and they tried to solve this problem by sterilizing people, particularly men who had had more children than a man should be allowed to have, or what they felt a man should be allowed to have. And again, it's created such a furor that they stopped the practice. It was said that asking a person, an Indian man, to stop having children would be like asking an American man to burn his Social Security card or do away with his Social Security. In India, your children is what support you when you're old. So in India, only a man who was out of his mind would stop having children, because the more he had, the richer he'd be in his old age. All right. Again, different part of the world, different customs. All right, Nehru died, and he was replaced by a woman named Gandhi, no kin to the original Gandhi. Indira Gandhi practiced sterilization for a while until she saw it made her unpopular with the whole world, including her own people. Gandhi ruled India with an iron fist as an absolute dictator until she was shot dead in an assassination attempt. India has since made some headway, a lot of headway. Some people in India are living better. Now, folk, on a personal note, and I talked to this over the class yesterday, and they said a lot of them have experienced this. Suppose you're having a problem with your credit card, and you need to call someone to credit. So you get on a phone and dial the number they give, and someone from India answers the phone.
Oh, no.
Named David.
Oh, no.
That doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah, named David.
David, but he has a hard time understanding you, and you can't understand him. Now, you might say,
I don't even try anymore.
Oh, no.
all right, is this still going on? All right, it's still going on, but someone, they've outsourced, this credit card to save money, have outsourced their work
But
to
because
people.
the difficulties that Americans have in translation and their accent, we can actually say, can I speak to an American or to your supervisor? Because the supervisor more likely to know how to speak English a little bit better.
Okay, well.
And thank God I don't know how it does that.
Okay, you know, you can get, I didn't realize that.
Oh, no.
But for a time, I mean, I was, of course, lately now, when we have trouble with the credit card, we use email or other means of communication and don't try to talk our way through it. And every one of you who deals with cards will eventually have trouble with them at one point or another. But sometimes it's your fault, and sometimes it isn't. I mean, people do hack other people's cards, and people steal identities, and sometimes you'll see a transaction that you know you did not make, and you need to talk to someone about it. And this can happen to anybody, no matter how careful you are. And folks have been in my homes. Every time you get a credit card statement, look at every item on the card.
But be prepared to talk to Apple.
Be really careful. I mean, and make sure that you have that every item on a card is one that you've actually spent, because somebody might be spending your money. And if you just this $300 this month and pay it and go on, somebody might be leeching off of you and you're not even aware of it. This can happen. All right. So much for that. All right. Land of the pure, Pakistan. Initially, Pakistan was two countries called East Pakistan and West Pakistan. In 1971, East Pakistan broke off and formed its own country called Bangladesh. and then now it's Bangladesh and Pakistan. Essentially, I mean, I'm going to draw a crude map. Let's say this is India. Here would be Pakistan. Over here in this corner is Bangladesh. And right up here in this region is Nepal. And India is doing what it has done throughout most of its history. If it hasn't been ruled by foreigners, it's been divided. The people of India dream of being one united country someday, but throughout most of history they've been divided or ruled by foreigners, or a little bit of both.